Namaskar and Jai Hind guys. Welcome to the Dnyanjyoti Education Current Affairs. My name is Dinesh Nandurbari. So as parents, recently India and Pakistan was fighting with each other. There was a great tension between these two countries. Pakistan sponsored terrorists came to the India and they made a terrorist attack into the Pahalgam region of the Jammu and Kashmir. As a response, Government of India launched Operation Sindoor, under which Government of India target the terrorist facilities into the POK region and into the Pakistan region. But Pakistan also respond to India's Operation Sindoor. They constantly threaten India with their nukes. Their spokesperson on the different forums, they threaten India for the nuclear war. So that's why the situation got little tensed. The whole world was thinking about this thing, fight between India and Pakistan. That what if India and Pakistan engage with each other with their nuclear bombs? Correct, and that's worrisome issue. So, in that context, today's session is very important. Today, we are going to talk about India's nuclear policy and its program. It is very important from the context of UPSC and MPSC examination. In UPSC and MPSC examination, there is a point into the syllabus called as internal and external security. So, security is a very important issue. So, in order to protect India from external threats, India have developed its nuclear program. And in today's session, we are going to take an overlook of the India's nuclear program. What is it, when it is started and how it is developed. Understood? So first thing first, what is India's nuclear policy? What do you mean by this? So India's nuclear policy means these are the guidelines and the strategies for nuclear weapons and energy. That means whatever nuclear weapon and the nuclear energy we have, for those nuclear weapons and nuclear energy, what are the different guidelines and what is the policy, that is called as India's nuclear policy. Now what does it include? It includes three important things. First, disarmament, deterrence and the peaceful nuclear use. Correct? Disarmament means what? Reducing the weapon size. This is called as disarmament. What do you mean by the deterrence? Deterrence means creating fear for not to take an action. So this is called as deterrence. And peaceful nuclear use means what? Use of the nuclear technology for the peaceful purposes, for example, medical purposes, power generation purposes. So India's nuclear programs covers these three things: disarmament, deterrence and the peaceful nuclear use. That's why India's nuclear policy is a comprehensive nuclear policy. Understood? When it was started and how it was developed, it is very interesting journey for the India. Since independence, in order to safeguard India's own interest, Government of India with the brilliant mind started its nuclear program. It was started from the Homi Jahangir Baba, the great scientist into the India. Understood? Before going forward, there is an important announcement for you guys that Dnyanjyoti Education brought you a new batch called as Nirman batch. Recently, 12th result is out and many aspirants want to become a civil servant as soon as they become a graduate student. So for those students who want to clear their civil service examination in the first attempt and they want to become a civil servant in the early age, for those students, Dnyanjyoti Education have come up with the brilliant batch called as Nirman. Nirman batch is of 3-year foundation batch. Under this batch, we are going to prepare you for the 3 years. That means simultaneously, when you are preparing for your graduation years, simultaneously we are going to prepare you for your civil service examination also. That means there is no wastage of time. Simultaneously, you are going to prepare for your civil graduation years, and at the same time you are going to be prepared for your civil services. So we have developed this program. Under this program, in the first year, we are going to cover your all basic fundamentals required for your civil service examination. We are going you to put into the habit of reading newspaper, going to cover your fundamentals, going to cover your NCRTs. Then in the next year, we are going to complete your detailed syllabus of the UPSC examination, UPSC and MPSC examination. Correct? So in this year, we are going to cover your detail point by point whole syllabus. And in the third year, we will put you under rigorous tests and programs. Along with that, we are going to prepare you for the interviews. So that's how we are going to prepare you in the 3 years, and this foundation batch is very, very helpful for those students who want to clear their civil service examination into the first attempt after their graduation. For more details, you can contact on this number, that is 788-799-2834. 788-799-2834. This is the number. You can contact on this number and you will get the more information regarding this batch. Alright, so let's start to talk about India's nuclear program. So guys, India's nuclear program starts with India's independence. I will say before the India's independence also. Dr. Homi Jahangir Bhabha was the chief architect of the India's nuclear program. He was the great scientist, nuclear scientist, physicist who want to create a nuclear power into the India. So that's why with the help of Dr. Homi Jahangir Bhabha, India starts its nuclear program. So in 1945, with the help of Dr. Homi Jahangir Bhabha, TIFR, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, an institution was created, with the chairman as a Dr. Homi Jahangir Bhabha, and this was the first institution into the India which is making research in nuclear science at that time. When I am saying a nuclear science, that means nuclear energy science. So TIFR was the first step toward the India's nuclear program. With the TIFR, India moved forward. After independence in 1948, we created the Atomic Energy Commission, again with the help of Dr. Homi Jahangir Bhabha. In fact, Homi Jahangir Bhabha became the first chairman of the Atomic Energy Commission in 1948. Now, Atomic Energy Commission was the first commission into the India which is going by the government of India, which is going to look after the India's nuclear program, right? So, in order to increase India's nuclear program, that is particularly for the power generation program, we have created the Department of Atomic Energy, DAE. Department of Atomic Energy directly works under the Prime Minister office, and Dr. Homi Jahangir Bhabha become the first secretary of the Department of Atomic Energy. Basically, Department of Atomic Energy, it's an umbrella organization which covers all the nuclear program into the India. So it includes your nuclear power generation also. In 1966, after the death of Dr. Homi Jahangir Bhabha, AEET, which was the premier institution into the India for the atomic research, is renamed as a Bhabha Atomic Research Center, BARC, मुंबई. ट्रॉम्बे के अंदर थी है ना, मुंबई के अंदर एक जगह ट्रॉम्बे, वहां पे थी ये. तो AEET मतलब AEET is renamed as a BARC, BARC, Bhabha Atomic Research Center, in order to commemorate the Bhabha, Dr. Homi Jahangir Bhabha. So Homi Jahangir Bhabha was the first person into the India who give us a vision for the nuclear country, है ना, nuclear country as a nuclear power country or peaceful purpose also. So by the 1916, India is trying to prove its mettle into this field, है ना. So that was the initial years of the India's nuclear program. Now the situation turns. After 1967, when the China conducted its nuclear test, these Western countries, including the China and Russia also, not only Westerns, these powerful countries created a treaty called as Non-Proliferation Treaty. Now, what does mean by NPT or Non-Proliferation Treaty? So, in the simple sense, in 1967, when the China conducted its nuclear test, after the conducting nuclear test, the 5 countries, that is USA, Russia, China, Britain, France, these countries come together and these countries jointly created the NPT. What is NPT? Basically, they declare that only these countries will have a power to possess nuclear weapons. No other country in the world can test their nuclear weapons and can have a nuclear weapon. So it's a discriminatory kind of treaty at that time. So this treaty actually discriminates between the nuclear powered and non-nuclear powered countries. India rejected this discrimination. So In 1970, these countries created the NPT, that is Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. So NPT is an international treaty that aims to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons and promote the peaceful use of the nuclear energy. बेसिकली ये जो एनपीटी है ना, ये न्यूक्लियर हथियारों के ठेकेदारों को संरक्षण देती है. तो 5 कंट्रीज होंगी, अमेरिका, फ्रांस, ब्रिटेन, है ना, रशिया एंड चाइना. यही 5 ठेकेदार होंगे दुनिया के अंदर जो न्यूक्लियर बम रख पाएंगे. बाकी दुनिया में कोई भी न्यूक्लियर वेपन कैरी नहीं कर पाएगा. इस तरीके से डिस्क्रिमिनेशन करने वाली ट्रीटी थी, है ना. नाउ अंडर दिस ट्रीटी देयर आर 3 इंपॉर्टेंट पिलर. फर्स्ट इज नॉन प्रोलिफरेशन. नॉन प्रोलिफरेशन मींस इंक्रीजिंग द आर्सेनल, न्यूक्लियर और एनी आईसीबीएम आर्सेनल. तो आपके पास जो मिसाइल से, बड़े बड़े हथियार से, वेपन्स ऑफ मास डिस्ट्रक्शन, उनको नहीं बढ़ाया जाएगा. इसको बोला जाता है नॉन प्रोलिफरेशन. करेक्ट. डू नॉट इंक्रीज द वेपनरीज, है ना. सो इट प्रमोट नॉन प्रोलिफरेशन, मतलब दुनिया में कोई भी बड़े बड़े हथियार नहीं बना सकता है एक्सेप्ट दिस 5 कंट्रीज. देन इट ऑल्सो प्रमोट डिसआर्मामेंट, कि अगर किसी ने बनाया भी है और वो कंट्री अगर एनपीटी साइन कर रहा है तो उसको अपने हथियारों को क्या करना पड़ेगा, डिसमेंटल करना पड़ेगा. तो एक्सेप्ट 5 कंट्रीज, नो अदर कंट्रीज इनटू द वर्ल्ड कैन हैव अ न्यूक्लियर और एनी बिग वेपन्स. इफ दे हैव, then those countries need to sign this NPT and disarmament. That means they have to reduce their weaponaries. So this is disarmament. Then it also promotes peaceful use of the nuclear technology. That means NPT does not prohibit use of nuclear power for power generation and medical energy. It only prohibits use of nuclear power as a weapon, है ना. So in a crux, this treaty is a bullshit, है ना. I'm using very hard words because it is a completely discriminatory treaty, है ना. Now this treaty discriminates between the nuclear power countries, 5 nuclear power countries and the rest of the world. Correct. So that's how India also see this treaty, that this is the discriminatory, and hence India is not a signatory to the NPT, Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. सो नॉन प्रोलिफरेशन ट्रीटी का इंडिया हिस्सेदार नहीं है. इंडिया ने उसको साइन करने से मना कर दिया है. अंडरस्टूड. दुनिया में तकरीबन 190 कंट्रीज, ऑलमोस्ट 119 कंट्रीज हैव साइन दिस एनपीटी, नॉन प्रोलिफरेशन ट्रीटी, एक्सेप्ट इंडिया. अंडरस्टूड. सो दैट्स हाउ एनपीटी वाज साइंड इन 19 एनपीटी वाज क्रिएटेड इन 1970, बट इंडिया रिमेन्ड नॉन सिग्नेटरी ऑफ द एनपीटी. प्लीज रिमेंबर दिस पॉइंट. दिस इज अ very important point from this slide, that India is not signatory of the non-proliferation treaty. Please remember this point. Okay. Now, in 1974, there was a big blow to the world that India conducted its first nuclear test. है ना, Pokhran, Rajasthan, Pokhran. Pokhran was the location where India conducted its first nuclear test in 1974 under the leadership of the Prime Minister Indira Gandhi at that time. So India just witnessed 1971 war, है ना. So in the 1971 war, there was a situation like this, that America and the Britain or the West particularly supporting the Pakistan army at that time, and India got the backup of the Soviet army at that time. But how long we can survive like this, है ना. ऐसे कितने समय तक चलेगा कि इसकी उसकी मदद मांग के हमको क्या करना पड़ेगा, युद्ध करना पड़ेगा या फिर खुद की रक्षा करनी पड़ेगी, है ना. ऐसे में तो हम लोग गुलाम बन जाएंगे. सो इन ऑर्डर टू मेंटेन इंडियाज इंटीग्रिटी एंड टू इंक्रीज सॉवरनिटी और टू क्रिएट मिनिमम डेटरेंस इनटू द वर्ल्ड, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया started its nuclear program, weapons program. Correct. And in 1974, government of India conducted their first nuclear test into the Pokhran. We named that project as a Operation Smiling Buddha. आणि बुद्ध हसला असं मराठीत म्हणतात. करेक्ट. सो गव्हर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया started Operation Smiling Buddha, under which it conduct its first nuclear test. Nuclear bomb was tested into the Pokhran in 1974, है ना. So what was the primary reason? To create टेक्नोलॉजिकल असर्शन, है ना, कि हम लोग भी उतने टेक्नोलॉजिकली एडवांस है कि हम लोग खुद बम बना सकते हैं और हम उस बम का इस्तेमाल भी कर सकते हैं. नाउ गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया क्रिएटेड दीज न्यूक्लियर बॉम्ब्स और क्रिएटेड दिस न्यूक्लियर आर्सेनल बेसिकली टू क्रिएट सिक्योरिटी फॉर इटसेल्फ, है ना. इफ यू लुक at the scenario by then 1974 up to the 1974, what was the situation? India and Pakistan had a 3 war up to this point, है ना? So since 1947 up to 1974, so within 30 years, India had a 3 wars with the Pakistan. India had a 1 major war with the China, correct? So India was constantly under the threat by its neighbor. So that's why in order to create India's own security, India conducted its nuclear program. In 1961-62, India and China fight with each other. In 1967, China become nuclear weapon country. So that's why it poses a serious threat for the India's national security. Hence, in order to balance the power game, India conducted its first nuclear test. What was the reaction? International community condemned India. They literally boycotted India from the trade also. So as usual, they do not want India to become a nuclear power country at that time, but India on its own become the nuclear power country, and that's why reaction was quite obvious at that time. So particularly the West reacted very badly. In fact, in 1974 itself, after the India's Pokhran test, they created, with the help of the West countries, they have created nuclear supplies groups, है ना? NSG बोला जाता है उसको, nuclear supplier group in 1974. What does it mean? So nuclear supplier group consists of a few countries. It consists 48 member countries. So what is the idea here? These 48 member countries will keep the nuclear trade with themselves only. No other country outside of the NSG group can have a trade in the nuclear assets. For example, nuclear fuel, nuclear technology, any equipments which helps in nuclear proliferation. So the use of nuclear energy is for peaceful or for a military use, doesn't matter, correct? So NSG, basically nuclear suppliers group, create a group of 48 countries which have a trade in nuclear supplies. So it's an exclusive group for the nuclear supply trade into the world. Again, India is not a member of the NSG. India is not a member of NSG. Basically, NSG was created as a response to the India's nuclear test, correct? What does it do? So NSG control the export of nuclear technology into the world. Whatever nuclear technology, nuclear fuel, nuclear assets, these all nuclear technology is controlled by this group, and India is not a member to the NSG. So we have seen two important treaties here, NPT and the nuclear supplies group NSG. So India is not signatory to NPT and India is not member of the NSG also, nuclear supplier group. These are the two important institutions we must remember. International institutions are there. There are other important institutions developed into the India regarding the nuclear technology. For example, in 1987, NPCIL stands for Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited is created. It is a PSU, public sector undertaking. What is the role of the NPCIL? That NPCIL holds all the nuclear power plants into the India. Correct? All the nuclear power plants are controlled by the NPCIL, Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited. Hence, in 1987, it was established. In the next year, 1988, India and Pakistan got engaged with each other at that time. So even Pakistan had their peaceful nuclear program. That means they have their own nuclear power plants. India have their own nuclear power plants. So India and Pakistan, having the long history of the enmity between each other, they maturely come together and agreed not to attack on each other nuclear power plants. So in 1988, India and Pakistan made an agreement in that direction, that they shares the information regarding their nuclear establishment, that where is India's nuclear power plants, where are the other nuclear research facilities into the India. So all those locations are shared between India and Pakistan, correct? So after this sharing, if there is any tension between India and Pakistan, these both countries will not hit their nuclear installations. So that's the agreement we achieved in 1988. After 10 years exactly, in 1988, India gave another blow to the world, that India conduct its second nuclear test in the same location called as Pokhran. So we called it as Pokhran 2. Here we called it as Operation Shakti. So it is also known as Shakti 98. So in 1974, India conducted its first nuclear test, but in order to revive its technology and to refine its technology, India decided to conduct its second nuclear test. In 1998, India went to the second nuclear test. तो 1998 के अंदर भारत सरकार ने जब दूसरा टेस्ट किया था तब अमेरिका के निगरानी में भारत था, मतलब सैटेलाइट वगैरह, उनकी सीआईए वगैरह, ये सारी चीजें भारत के ऊपर नजर रखी हुई थी। लेकिन फिर भी भारत सरकार ने इन सारी चीजों को चकमा देते हुए अपना सेकेंड न्यूक्लियर टेस्ट वहां पे कंडक्ट किया। अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी वॉज देन प्राइम मिनिस्टर, है ना। सो दैट्स हाउ इंडिया सेकेंड nuclear test which happened in May 1998 was very successful. In May we conducted 5 nuclear tests in the Pokhran, and that's how we reaffirms that we are capable nuclear power into the world, है ना। After that India shows its responsibility also, and India created its own nuclear policy, है ना। We are going to discuss that nuclear policy in the later slides. Understood? In 2003, Government of India comes up with the administrative facility called as Nuclear Command Authority, NCA, है ना। So what is NCA? So basically NCA is very important first to say office into the India, correct? Basically it is the office and it is the command and control office regarding the nuclear weapons into the India. So if India have to use its nuclear weapon against any country, then it is the Nuclear Command Authority or NCA which authorize such attack. No other institution into the India can have that authority except NCA. So we have a separate authority to execute India's nuclear action or nuclear weapons action, and that authority is called as Nuclear Command Authority. So this Nuclear Command Authority comes up with the 2 branches, है ना। इस न्यूक्लियर एनसीए न्यूक्लियर कमांड अथॉरिटी के अंदर 2 तरीके की ब्रांचेस आएगी। द फर्स्ट ब्रांच इज कॉल्ड एज पॉलिटिकल काउंसिल, अनदर ब्रांच इज कॉल्ड एज एग्जीक्यूटिव काउंसिल। सो अंडर द न्यूक्लियर कमांड अथॉरिटी देयर इज अ पॉलिटिकल काउंसिल एंड देयर इज अ एग्जीक्यूटिव काउंसिल। व्हाट डज मीन बाय पॉलिटिकल काउंसिल? सो पॉलिटिकल काउंसिल बीइंग द हेड ऑफ द न्यूक्लियर कमांड अथॉरिटी, इट इज डायरेक्टली चेयर्ड बाय द प्राइम मिनिस्टर, है ना। सो प्राइम मिनिस्टर बीइंग द चेयरमैन ऑफ द पॉलिटिकल काउंसिल अंडर एनसीए, they authorize the nuclear attack by the India, correct? तो अगर भारत कभी भी किसी के ऊपर न्यूक्लियर हमला करने वाला है तो हमला कौन ऑथराइज करेगा? वहां पे प्राइम मिनिस्टर के प्राइम मिनिस्टर जिस कमिटी को चेयर करेंगे उस कमिटी के द्वारा ही वो क्या किया जाएगा? ऑथराइज किया जाएगा। तो पॉलिटिकल काउंसिल इनटू द एनसीए ऑथराइज टू अटैक, है ना, by using its nuclear arsenal. Then there is another entity called as Executive Council. What is Executive Council? So Executive Council is another wing of the NCA which is headed by the NSA, stand for the National Security Advisor. So India's National Security Advisor also head another committee into the NCA. Basically this Executive Council it provides strategic recommendation to the Political Council here. मतलब यहां पे क्या है, सीधी सीधी बात समझा देता हूं मैं। एनसीए के अंदर 2 तरीके के लोग डिसीजन लेंगे, एक प्राइम मिनिस्टर, दूसरे नेशनल सिक्योरिटी एडवाइजर, जो कि भारत के अंदर अभी के लिए कौन है? अजीत डोभाल। सो नेशनल सिक्योरिटी एडवाइजर अलग अलग अपनी सारी फोर्सेस होंगी, है ना, सारी फोर्सेस उनको वहां पे ये करेंगी, रिपोर्ट करेगी, है ना। जितनी भी रॉ, आईबी, एयरफोर्स और नेवी वगैरह, ये जो सारी फोर्सेस है ये सारी की सारी किनको रिपोर्ट करेगी? वहां पे एनएसए को। और सबसे रिपोर्ट लेके एनएसए ये तय करेगा कि हमको हमारे न्यूक्लियर हमले को यूज करना चाहिए कि नहीं करना चाहिए। अब वो सारी रिपोर्ट्स को देख के वहां पे तय करेंगे कि हाँ हमको न्यूक्लियर हथियार यूज करना चाहिए। अब वो रिकमेंडेशन जाएगा प्राइम मिनिस्टर के पास, मतलब यहां पे पॉलिटिकल काउंसिल के अंदर। नाउ इन द पॉलिटिकल काउंसिल a committee chaired by the prime minister will take the final decision. वो चाहे तो इनकी एडवाइस को रिजेक्ट भी कर सकते हैं, चाहे तो इनकी एडवाइस को एक्सेप्ट भी कर सकते हैं, और वो क्या करेंगे वहां पे फिर अपना फाइनल डिसीजन लेंगे वेदर टू स्ट्राइक द ब्लो और नॉट, है ना। न्यूक्लियर बटन को दबाना है कि नहीं दबाना है ये तब तय होगा। इस तरीके से भारत के अंदर एक सिस्टम बनाई गई. दे हैव क्रिएटेड अ कंप्लीट सिस्टम इनटू द इंडिया इन ऑर्डर टू कंट्रोल द न्यूक्लियर अटैक एक्शन, है ना. So guys, always remember in 2003 government of India comes up with the NCA, stands for the Nuclear Command Authority. It is the final authority in India which authorize nuclear bombing actions. Understood? To support NCA, जो NCA अभी बनी थी उसको मदद करने के लिए there is another institution called as Strategic Force Command, SFC, again in 2003. So in 2003 itself NCA की मदद के लिए SFC, Strategic Force Command, आ गए वहां पे. Now what do you mean by Strategic Force Command? बेसिकली स्ट्रैटेजिक फोर्स कमांड ये वो संस्था है जिसका काम होगा भारत के अंदर जितने भी न्यूक्लियर बॉम्ब से, न्यूक्लियर मिसाइल से, उनका स्टॉक पाइल बना के रखना, है ना, उनको रेडी टू यूज रखना. करेक्ट. मतलब ऐसे नहीं कि रख रख के गोदाम के अंदर उनको जंग लग गया और जब यूज करने जाए तब फटेगा नहीं, है ना. तो उनको रेडी टू बी यूज रखने के लिए, उनका मेंटेनेंस करने के लिए, उनका स्टॉक पाइल मेंटेन करने के लिए एक सेपरेट संस्था होनी चाहिए. किसी को भी वो काम नहीं दिया जा सकता है. सो इन ऑर्डर टू keep the India's arsenal ready to be used and keep it updated, there is a specific entity working into the India called as Strategic Force Command. It is also created in 2003. Its primary function is to operational control of the India's nuclear arsenal. जो भी बोला था, जो भी बम गोले हो गए हमारे न्यूक्लियर बम गोले, उन सब को तैयार रखना, रेडी टू यूज रखना और उनको संभाल के रखना. ये सारा काम कौन देखता है वहां पे? स्ट्रेटेजिक फोर्स कमांड. इट्स रोल्स इन्वॉल्व्स मेंटेनिंग डिलीवरी सिस्टम, जो भी हमारी डिलीवरी सिस्टम है ना. फॉर एग्जांपल इंडिया इज द ट्रायड. करेक्ट. दैट मींस इंडिया कैन हिट न्यूक्लियर इट्स न्यूक्लियर वेपन थ्रू लैंड, थ्रू सी एंड थ्रू एयर ऑल्सो. करेक्ट. तो उसके लिए जो भी डिलीवरी सिस्टम्स होगी उनको रेडी टू बी यूज रखना. जो रडार्स होंगे वो सारी चीजें क्या करना है, उनको रेडी रखना है ना. एग्जीक्यूट एनसीएस ऑर्डर, जो भी न्यूक्लियर कमांड अथॉरिटी आदेश देगी उन सारे आदेशों को एग्जीक्यूट करना. अंडरस्टूड. कि जैसे न्यूक्लियर स्टॉकपाइल को मूव करना है, रिड्यूस करना है, व्हाटएवर इट मे बी, वो सारे डिसीजंस यहां पे क्या किए जाएंगे? एग्जीक्यूट किए जाएंगे बाय द एसएफसी, है ना. एंड टू इंश्योर न्यूक्लियर रेडीनेस, कि जब भी बोले कि बम चलाना है, बटन दबाओ, चल जाएगा. तो वो पोजीशन पे सब सारी चीजों को मेंटेन रखने के लिए क्या होता है? स्ट्रेटेजिक फोर्स कमांड. So in 2003, Government of India comes up with the Strategic Force Command in order to support the NCA, Nuclear Command Authority को सपोर्ट करने के लिए. यहां पे जो कमांडर होते हैं स्ट्रेटेजिक फोर्स कमांड के अंदर, वो एक 3 स्टार मिलिट्री ऑफिसर होते हैं. अंडरस्टूड. तो एनी 3 स्टार मिलिट्री ऑफिसर इज अ कमांडिंग इन चार्ज ऑफ द SFC, Strategic Force Command. So in 2003, Government of India comes up with an administrative setup in order to control its nuclear fire power. जो भी उसकी न्यूक्लियर फायर पावर है ना, उसको कंट्रोल करने के लिए और उसको एक सिस्टम में ढालने के लिए 2003 में ये 2 संस्थाएं बनाई गई थी, एनसीए एंड स्ट्रेटेजिक फोर्स कमांड. Immediately after that, Government of India comes up with its nuclear policy, है ना. India want to show to the world that we are not amateurs, है ना. हम लोग खून पीने वाले जानवर नहीं है. वी आर अ रिस्पॉन्सिबल सिटीजन ऑन द प्लैनेट. करेक्ट. टू शो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टुवर्ड द वर्ल्ड, इंडिया कम्स अप विद द स्मार्ट एंड वेरी नोबल nuclear doctrine, है ना. So in this nuclear doctrine there are certain principles which are very very important and which shows India's responsibility toward the global peace also, है ना. So by मतलब जो डॉक्टर एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम, जिन्होंने एक हमारा भारत के अंदर जो है ना इंटीग्रेटेड गाइडेड मिसाइल का प्रोग्राम के अंदर 5 अलग अलग मिसाइलें बनाई. ही वाज द चीफ आर्किटेक्ट ऑफ दैट प्रोग्राम एंड विद द हेल्प ऑफ दिस मिसाइल्स वी कैन एक्चुअली अटैक nuclear attack. So one journalist asked APJ Abdul Kalam that you regret that you created the missiles which have nuclear capabilities. So APJ Abdul Kalam, the then commander in charge of this whole program, said no. Why? Because India need to have a minimum deterrence power. Correct? Because India is surrounded by enemy countries. Pakistan, China, these are enemy countries. Correct? So India is surrounded by the enemy countries. One of the countries is nuclear powered countries. Another country is sponsoring terrorism into the India. So we need to create a deterrence against these countries, है ना, a minimum deterrence power. Deterrence means what? That we will make them think twice before making any attack on India, है ना, दो बार सोचने के लिए मजबूत करेंगे कि अगर वो बदतमीजी करेंगे तो हमारे पास भी पुख्ता जवाब देने के लिए एक हथियार है, एक तगड़ा हथियार है, करेक्ट. सो इसको बोलते हैं डेटरेंस पावर. सो इन ऑर्डर टू क्रिएट मिनिमम डेटरेंस, इंडिया डेवलप इट्स न्यूक्लियर प्रोग्राम. आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट मिलिट्री न्यूक्लियर प्रोग्राम. अंडरस्टूड? So India developed its nuclear program. So India creates its nuclear deterrence, है ना, by creating nuclear bombs. But after its nuclear test, government of India also comes up with a responsible policy called as India's nuclear doctrine. So what are the rules? What are the principles into the India's nuclear doctrine? है ना? So for examination point of view, these all rules are very, very important. For example, India comes up with the no first use policy. What do you mean by this? That India will never use its nuclear weapon at the first instant. India will always use its nuclear weapon as a response to the nuclear attack. अगर कोई सामने से हम पे न्यूक्लियर अटैक कर रहा है तो ही रिटेलिएशन में हम लोग न्यूक्लियर बम यूज करेंगे. दैट मीन्स इफ अगर सामने से कोई न्यूक्लियर बम नहीं फेंक रहा है इंडिया के ऊपर, if they are not attacking with their nukes on India, India will not use its nuclear power at all. Correct? So that is no first use. So this shows very much responsible behavior. Correct? Minimum credible deterrence. That we have developed this nuclear program in order to show minimum credible deterrence. Just I explained you कि एक खौफ होना चाहिए, एक कम से कम एक ताकत हमारे पास इतनी होनी चाहिए कि सामने वाले के अंदर एक खौफ पैदा करे कि हम लोग नहीं बदतमीजी नहीं कर सकते वहां पे. अंडरस्टूड? सो दैट इज कॉल्ड एज मिनिमम क्रेडिबल डेटरेंस. रिटेलिएशन ओनली. गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया यूज इट्स न्यूक्लियर पावर इन द फॉर्म ऑफ रिटेलिएशन ओनली, है ना, कि मतलब सामने वाले को नुकसान पहुंचाना है इसलिए हम लोग न्यूक्लियर बम नहीं यूज करेंगे. सामने वाले ने हमारे ऊपर नुकसान किया है तो उसका बदला लेने के लिए, रिटेलिएट करने के लिए हम लोग क्या करेंगे, वहां पे हमारे न्यूक्लियर वेपन्स को यूज करेंगे. तो अगेन वही नो फर्स्ट यूज को ही ये एक्सटेंड करता है. अंडरस्टूड? नो यूज अगेंस्ट द नॉन न्यूक्लियर स्टेट्स, एंड दैट्स वेरी नोबल फीचर इन माय पर्सनल ओपिनियन. क्या हम लोग न्यूक्लियर वेपन को किसी के ऊपर दबाव बनाने के लिए नहीं क्रिएट कर रहे. करेक्ट? बेसिकली हम लोग उन लोगों के ऊपर दबाव बनाने के लिए क्रिएट कर रहे हैं जो भारत का बुरा चाहते हैं. If they want to harm India, they have to think twice because we have a potential to retaliate. Understood? But if a country with a non-nuclear weapon engage with the India, engage with the enemy, engage as an enemy with the India, then India will not use its nuclear power in any circumstances. अगर किसी कंट्री के पास जो भारत के साथ दुश्मनी में है, अगर उसके पास कोई न्यूक्लियर वेपन नहीं है, इफ इट इज नॉन न्यूक्लियर कंट्री, देन इंडिया इन एनी circumstances India cannot use its nuclear power. So this is no use against non-nuclear states. No use against the civilians also. That means we will not use our nukes to attack civilians, है ना. अगर हमको यूज भी करना है तब हम उनकी मिलिट्री एस्टेब्लिशमेंट को टारगेट करेंगे, ना कि सिविलियन एस्टेब्लिशमेंट को टारगेट करेंगे, है ना. कमिटमेंट टू द डिसआर्मामेंट. Government of India also commit to the world through this nuclear policy that they are ready to disarmament. That means अपने न्यूक्लियर हथियारों को वो नीचे रखने के लिए तैयार है अगर पूरी दुनिया में सारे कंट्रीज इस तरीके की एक्शन में आगे आते. अगर दुनिया में हमको पीस चाहिए, इफ वांट टू क्रिएट अ पीस इनटू द वर्ल्ड, देन at one day we have to surrender, we means world have to surrender their own weapons of mass destruction, and India is ready to that, but provided that other countries too disarmament. Correct? जब बाकी लोग अपने हथियार डालेंगे तभी भारत अपने हथियार डालने के लिए रेडी है. तो इंडिया इज रेडी टू डिसआर्मामेंट फॉर द ग्लोबल पीस. दैट्स कमिटमेंट अंडर इंडियाज न्यूक्लियर डॉक्ट्रिन. सो इंडियाज न्यूक्लियर डॉक्ट्रिन प्रोवाइड्स a responsible it shows the responsible behavior by the government of India, है ना. And to compare the another adversary of India, that is Pakistan, which is also nuclear power country, they did not have such any policies, है ना, बिल्कुल भी नहीं उनके पास. In fact, their nuclear policy is a result of India and Pakistan enmity. They have created their nuclear weapons only to harm India. So that's why they never come up with such nuclear policy. No first use, no use against, no use of nuclear weapons against the non nuclear country. इस तरीके से उनके पास कोई पॉलिसी ही नहीं है, इसलिए वो आए दिन क्या करते रहते, धमकी देते रहते कि ये कर दूंगा, वो कर दूंगा, बम डाल दूंगा, है ना, इस तरीके से. Then there are certain civil nuclear agreements also. So guys, the one of the major problem with the India's nuclear program, whether it is military or peaceful purpose, the major hurdle in front of the India's nuclear program is nuclear fuel, right? Although India have the one of the largest thorium reserves into the India, almost 25% of the world's thorium found in India, in Kerala, understood? But the thorium technology is quite ahead of the time. We don't have that technology yet, है ना? So use of thorium is out of question right now. So the plutonium or the uranium are the present day fuel for the nuclear programs, and India is short of such nuclear resources, है ना? So that's why India need to rely on the global partners. Hence India's civil nuclear agreement are very, very important in that direction. Two countries particularly, one is USA in 2008 and Japan in 2016 signed civil nuclear program with the India. In fact, India is the only country outside of the energy which have, outside of the NPT which have such civil nuclear agreement. Under this civil nuclear agreement, government of India is getting nuclear fuel and the nuclear technology from this country, है ना? तो इस तरीके से हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं, सिविल न्यूक्लियर एग्रीमेंट में भी जुड़ रहे दुनिया की अलग अलग कंट्रीज के साथ. सो इन 2008 विद द यूएसए वी हैव 1 2 3 सिविल न्यूक्लियर डील. इसका नाम है 1 2 3 सिविल न्यूक्लियर डील. इंडिया यूएसए के बीच में हुई थी 2008 में. इन 2016 इंडिया कम्स अप विद द अनदर सिविल न्यूक्लियर प्रोग्राम विद द जापान, वेयर जापान इज एग्रीड टू प्रोवाइड अस न्यूक्लियर फ्यूल, है ना? तो ये उस दिशा में बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. And the last important part of this India's nuclear program is that nuclear triad, है ना? Recently you must have heard about this word, है ना? That India is a nuclear triad. India is a nuclear triad. Even Pakistan claims that they are a nuclear triad. So many countries into the world right now claiming that they are nuclear triad, है ना? There is no official list maintained by any other organization into the world which can explain that who is nuclear triad or not. But first thing first, what do you mean by nuclear triad? Nuclear triad means it's a capability of a particular country that it can attack its nuclear, it can use its nuclear weapon from land, from sea and from air also. मतलब जमीन से हम न्यूक्लियर बम यूज कर सकते हैं, पानी से सबमरीन के थ्रू हम न्यूक्लियर बम यूज कर सकते हैं, और हवा से मतलब किसी हवाई जहाज से विद द हेल्प ऑफ फाइटर जेट we can use our nuclear weapon. So India in 2016 achieved its nuclear triad. 2016 में हम लोगों ने हमारा nuclear triad achieve कर लिया था. That means India is capable to launch its nuclear weapon from air, from land as well as from sea, है ना? In 2016 India used its INS Arihant. INS Arihant is the first nuclear powered submarine, but this nuclear powered submarine is also capable to launch nukes or nuclear weapons, है ना? So that means India is capable to use its nuclear power from air, land and water. So इसको बोलते हैं nuclear triad, है ना? So India is a nuclear triad. Basically it's an advanced type of retaliation, है ना? It ensures the full deterrence against the enemy, है ना? तो इसलिए भारत एक nuclear triad है वहां पे. So that is India's nuclear policy. So guys, the tension is going on between India and Pakistan. It is yet to settle down. I hope so it will settle down, because India and Pakistan both are mature countries. Although Pakistan is not showing that much of maturity, but India is too mature country. India being the 4th largest country, having the 1.4 billion population, and with the strong Indian nationalism and the Indian army, we are very, very capable to look after any threat to the India. But we are not warmongering people, है ना? न्यूज चैनल वगैरह में चलता रहेगा, लेकिन हम लोग जो है ना शांति को पसंद करने वाले लोग, वी आर पीस लविंग पीपल इनटू द वर्ल्ड, है ना? 1971 हो, 1998 हो, 1965 हो, हर बार जब भी युद्ध होता था इंडिया ने यूनिलैटरली वहां पे पीस स्टैब्लिश किया है. Yes or no? So it is a trial and tested that India does not want wars. India want peace. है ना? So our nuclear policy also represent that peaceful behavior of the India. I hope so you understand the concepts. Thank you.